Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Jesse Ray, Growth House Podcast, here with Cody Caswell. It's a pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. It's great to finally meet.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're down in Austin, Texas, and you have so many incredible things going on. I mean, I was listening to a few of your podcasts before we hopped on. I'm like, this guy bought his first house at 16. This guy's doing big things. And before I start telling the whole story, I want you to tell us where you're at right now. What does life look like? What does the real estate portfolio look like right now, currently?
All right, yeah. So moved to Austin, Texas a little bit over a year ago. 27, married. I've got real estate business full time. That's all I've ever done ever since I was 16. Right now, our flipping company is doing 10 to 15 flips a year. And as far as buying whole portfolio goes, we have one large multifamily that we are a majority partner, small JV on. And that's it. Actually, we took a giant shift in our real estate investing business last year. We sold our long-term portfolio in order to redeploy it into more active income because, the $150, $250 a month in cash flow from the long-term rentals just wasn't doing it. So we decided to make a big shift in our portfolio last year, sell all of our long-term stuff, redeploy it into short-term stuff, generate more active income, focus in on our interior design business, and grow those sides of our portfolio before we start investing into long-term stuff again. So as of right now, we have that one large JV that we're in a partnership on, and our flipping company and our interior design company.
I'm so excited to dive into that. And I want to dive into that a little bit later because I want to hear the come up story. But that's so true because a lot of people are doing that. They realize like, okay, I'm saving all this money to just go get a house and the house is giving you $400 of cash flow. It's like, all right, that's cool. But if you want to maintain a certain lifestyle, you need a lot of those houses. So we're going to dive into that. But for first, what's that come up story? How did Cody become, where you're at today?
Yeah, so I've been a real estate investor my entire life. I come from a real estate investing family, but technically I'm a third generation real estate investor. So my grandpa was the one that started it. He started it by buying his mom's house whenever he became, probably 40s is probably whenever he did it. He bought his mom's house and rented it out. And he started just buying one at a time. They were mostly mobile homes and really, really cheap houses because that's what he could afford. But he knew that, rentals were a really good path to wealth. And, real estate's always been a great place to store money. So rather than leave it in the bank where it's earning, less than 1% interest, put it in a piece of property and just let it sit there and grow. He's always viewed real estate as like a savings account. So you just have little savings accounts everywhere. And it's like the bank of 123 Main Street. That's kind of the way that he's always viewed it. So my dad was a real estate investor as well. He's a DIYer. He bought one house at a time over a period of 30 years and got successful at it. About halfway through his journey of doing that, me and my brother were about 13, 14 years old. And he would start kicking us out of the house on Saturdays and we'd go fix houses with him. He was a DIYer, so he did all of the work, every piece of it. So from the time I was 14, I was cleaning out houses. I was painting. I was, doing flooring, anything that like a 13, 14-year-old could do. I was doing it. And I was learning how all of it was done. All the while, I was sort of learning like what a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid could process about real estate investing, right? I'm not looking to know a lot of numbers at that point in my life. I just kind of want to go hang out with my friends for the most part. But, subconsciously I'm getting a lot of this stuff in and it's getting stored in this, part of my head that I'm going to be able to, pull back from later on as some of this stuff does become important to me. So I learned how to do everything as far as remodel a house before the time I was 16. And whenever I turned 16, I had a little bit of money saved up from working with my dad, my grandpa, working odd jobs as a, 15-year-old kid, and I had about $5,000 saved up. I wanted a new truck, and my dad told me, well, instead of getting a new truck, what you should do is go buy yourself a piece of property that'll pay the note on that truck. Because once that truck gets paid off, you'll still get paid from the property. And kind of, some of that information started pouring back into my head, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do it, probably just because my dad told me to do it, but I did it. I went out and found a property. At 16 years old, I couldn't title a house, but I could title the mobile home because it's titled just the same way that like a trailer or a car is. So I went out to a mobile home park that was right by the middle school in the town that I grew up in. I dropped a letter in the mailbox of every single slot. And I said, hey, my name is, Cody Caswell. I'm 16 years old. I'm looking to buy my first investment property. And if you'd like to sell your mobile home, I'd love to talk to you about selling it. Sure enough, there's a guy in the park. He said, hey, I've got this mobile home next to me. I was always planning on fixing it up and renting it. But if you want to talk about buying it, come over and let's talk. So that's what I did. I went over and talked to him. He said he was going to be the first person to help me in my real estate investing journey. And he was. Sold me that mobile home for $3,500. And yep, it was in terrible shape. It was
Okay.
it was an 80s model. It was horrible. There was so much work that needed to be done to it, but I bought it for $3,500 and I had $1,500 left to fix it. And I did everything myself. At the end product, don't think it looked amazing because it didn't. I mean, a 16-year-old kid did it. I hired my buddies on the weekend for, $25, $50 a day. And we went in, painted it. I put some carpet in the bedrooms. I, changed out some of the light fixtures. And that was probably about it. But it was nice enough to rent out. So I rented that mobile home for $665 a month. My lot rent was $165. And I think my insurance was about $50 a month. So I was cash flowing about $450 a month as a 16-year-old. And that's kind of like what kicked me into the real estate investing world.
That's amazing, man. That's so cool. So many ways I want to go. But even before we started the podcast, we talked about I'm sure you did not enjoy doing that as a 14, 15, 16-year-old, working with your pops, humidity of Louisiana. But looking back, we've realized damn, there's so many things that our parents made us do that now we're grateful for, and that instilled certain, characteristics, including work ethic, into us now. Question I want to ask you, because you said you're a father, are you going to be doing this with your kids? Are they going to be, teenagers working, flipping the houses, and maybe doing some interior designing?
Not a father yet, but whenever I do have kids, I'm definitely going to introduce them into that world. I don't think I want to do it in the way that I did it because I grew up with the hammer in the hand. And as I've gotten older and I've grown myself in new circles and masterminds of people that have really used the leverage to 10x their businesses, I understand that can only get you so far. And so whenever I was kind of entering into my early 20s, I had to unlearn a lot of things in order to relearn new ways to do it, like the ways that I wanted to do it. So will I be putting them in the houses, fixing them up? No. But will I definitely be bringing them around my projects and showing them the forms of leverage that I'm using, showing them the numbers? Absolutely. I'm going to bring my kids to my projects and teach them early on that the real way that you get wealthy in life is not from getting paid for your time. It's from building value. And I've never in my life, I've never seen making money as a way of, hey, I'm going to go trade this and I'm going to go get money. It's not a trade. I have to figure out how to create value. I have to figure out how to create money in the marketplace. And that's the only way you create big sums because you only have so many hours in the day, right? You can only justify getting paid so much per hour, but value doesn't look at hours. Value looks at just value. What is how big and how sought after can you create something to be? And that's what you can charge a higher price for. So it's not dependent on your time. So I want to definitely teach my kids, hey, the money that you make in this world is not dependent on the time or the effort that you put in. It's, only based on the amount of value that you create.
So many gems there. So start us back where you left off. You're 16, you got into real estate, got the mobile home, and then bring us to where you're at today.
Yeah. So after that, I went out, I did buy a truck and it did pay the note. So that was really cool. And
assets
I really
are paying your liabilities. I love
assets for paying the liabilities, even at 16. And I mean, other than that, it was mostly just McDonald's after school with my friends. But, I didn't necessarily have a super big bug for it, really. It was just kind of something that my dad did. And I didn't understand at this point, this is, 10 years ago, it hadn't caught fire on social media the way that it is now. So, and I was just a 16-year-old kid. So I wrapped up high school. And on my 18th birthday, I went and applied for a loan at the bank. But the way that happened was my cousin had a house. He was a real estate investor. He had bought years ago and just decided he didn't want to be that. He had a really successful parking lot striping business. And this was his one rental house and it was just causing him more trouble than it was worth. So he told me about it and I was like, well, I might want to buy it for you. And he said, he said, just take it for what the loan is on. He was like, I don't want to make anything. Just take it for the loan and get it off my hands. So at 18 years old, on my 18th birthday, I went and applied for a loan at the bank for the amount of money that my cousin had on that house. And I bought it. Again, I was left with very little money in the bank to fix it up, but I went in and fixed it up myself, and I made it what it could be. And I refied it. So whenever I refinanced it, I was able to pull all my money back and pull out some on top. And that's about the time that it really started to click with me, was whenever you could start using this. Like, that was like a creating value, right? I got paid a good bit of money. I think it was $10,000 or $15,000, but it was a lot of money for a 19-year-old kid at the time. It was then that I kind of figured out, okay, there's word, like, you can leverage this. You can leverage this. You can leverage real estate. It kind of all started clicking on me. And at the time, I was doing an insurance. I was doing a internship at an insurance brokerage for college. I thought I wanted to be an insurance broker, but 1 week in the cubicle, like, I figured out this is not for me. So this was all kind of happening at the same time, and that's whenever I found Bigger Pockets. So I found Bigger Pockets sitting at my desk at that internship, and I just like dove in. I figured out, oh, there's other people like this. And then I was like, oh no, there's an entire community of people like this. So that's whenever I found Bigger Pockets. I dove in. And after that internship, I got offered a job. I said no. And just a couple of weeks later, I bought an 8-plex, an 8-unit apartment complex from the stuff that I learned on Bigger Pockets. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to dive into this. There's probably some steps in there that I'm missing. I bought a couple of houses. Yeah.
Well,
walk
us through that 8-plex that you got.
Yeah, so the 8-plex, that was like my first leveraged BRRRR deal. I had bought a couple of houses prior to that. It was a seller finance deal it was from my aunt and uncle. The package deal, my brother bought 2, I bought 2, my dad bought 1. They didn't want to be landlords anymore, but they still wanted income. So we kind of figured out a way that we could all do that. I didn't see any money from those. I used it all to just pay down the loan. So that deal, the 8-plex was really like my first real leveraged BRRRR deal. I bought it off of a line of credit. So I pulled a line of credit on the 2 seller finance homes I had and that house I applied for on my 18th birthday.
Okay.
I
want to dive into this a little bit more tactical, because I think a lot of people are trying to figure out, how do you pull, money from a house you currently have? And then also, before we go there, what is BRRRR for those like that don't know?
Yeah, BRRRR, it's a term that I think Brandon Turner coined. It's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So essentially, you buy the property, you rehab it, you rent it out. After a little seasoning period, once you've had it rented for a little while, you can go to the bank and you can refinance it for the value that you put into the house, and then you just repeat. You do that cycle over and over again. So it's essentially a way to invest in real estate with no money. You have to lock your money up in the house for a period of time, but after that period of time passes and you've created a little bit of value, you can refinance and pull all of your money back. So how
soon are you usually able to refinance?
6 months for me. I think every bank is different depending on where you're at in the country and your relationship with the banker. I think that's it's a very variable question, but for me, it was always 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't too long. But that's how that. So what happened was I got that property whenever I applied on my 18th birthday. I got that property and I BRRRR'd it. After that, I seller financed those 2 homes for my aunt and uncle. And I was in college at the time and I really wasn't buying a lot of properties. I was doing this internship. I was paying all of the rent to my aunt and uncle at the time because A, they kind of needed the money, and B, it was easier. I didn't need the cash from the income. I was working little jobs on the side and I was in college and my college was paid for too. So I didn't really need the income at the time. I was paying all of my money on that loan. And after doing that for about a year, we had built a lot of equity. And that's kind of where we started this. Okay, we were able to refinance that property. We were able to pull a line of credit on it. And that's whenever that internship was ending at the time. I found Bigger Pockets and this 8-plex kind of came up. And I had built a little bit of relationship with the seller of that 8-plex, and he gave me a really good deal on it, honestly. I just built a really good relationship with him. I was 21 at the time, and he was amazed that I was 21 years old trying to buy his 8-plex because he was in his late 30s. And we got to be really good friends, and we struck a deal that worked for both of us. So I was able to leverage the money that I got from that line of credit. I was able to leverage that to use it for the down payment. And so I 100% financed it, which is risky, but I took a bet on myself.
And then how did it perform?
It was great. I went in, I did a little bit of renovating. I painted the outside. I put a new roof on it. Most of the work was done myself at the time still. So like I painted it. I got some of the units rent ready. I, did the little bit of renovation I could do, but main thing was I raised all the rents. He knew the rents were really, really low when he had it. And he was transitioning into mobile home parks, which he's become really successful at too. He's still one of my mentors today. Um, he just didn't want to put the legwork into raising the rents. So I was willing to. I went in, day one as these leases came available, I started raising rents to where market was. And I made the units that were available a little bit nicer where they could command better rents. So it performed really well. Once we raised our rents, I held it for about a year and then I refinanced it again at the bank. And that's whenever I paid off everything. And, I owned it with no money. It was a great deal.
That's amazing. So you mentioned something because now you're seeing, besides your dad, you have now other mentors. And from my understanding, you were very intentional about getting yourself in those inner circles of people, doing bigger deals and transitioning from my dad as the main mentor to now other people. Walk us through that journey and how you got involved with, those type of communities and those new mentors.
Yeah. So first, I think, a lot of people hear about is from Bigger Pockets. I heard Brandon Turner and David Green talking about GoBundance. At the time, I didn't qualify for GoBundance, but it was always an aspiration for me was to try to get in GoBundance. So I started attending our local real estate meetups. I was probably 20 or 21 at the time. And I just, as soon as I found out about a real estate meetup locally, I was like, I'm going 100%. So every single real estate meetup, I showed up early, I stayed late, I got talking with people, and I just was trying to develop friendships with people that I knew were bigger. And the guy that actually ran the meetup, I figured out he was in GoBundance. And I was like, oh man, like now I got to spend more time with you. So I
real quick. Explain like on a high level what GoBundance is for those that haven't heard of it.
It's a mastermind for guys that want to, grab life by the horns and want to live a big life. You have to be a millionaire to qualify. And it's based off these 6 pillars, genuine contribution, extreme accountability, 4 other pillars. But it's basically a group of awesome men that want to live awesome lives and want to be awesome people for their community. That's essentially what it is.
All my best friends are at GoBundance, so
yeah, exactly. A lot of people have heard about it. It's an incredible organization. I'm thankful to be a part of it now.
Absolutely. Okay, so he's in GoBundance, the leader of this real estate meetup, and then what happened next?
I decided I was going to be friends with him one way or the other. So I stayed late. I got talking. Asked him to lunch. I would offer to walk his projects with him. I wanted to come shadow him for the day and just get to be friends with him. And over the course of about a year doing that, we grew pretty good friends. We got to be close. And that was probably my first mentor out of my dad that was in the real estate space. That I could actually watch somebody. He had a home investors franchise, so we buy ugly houses franchise. And I got to watch him wholesale deals. I got to watch him acquire rentals. I got to watch how he did rehabs. And I just got to learn like the business on a larger scale. He was doing probably 30 to 50 deals a year. And I got to watch what it looked like somebody doing that type of deals, how you leverage banks and how you leverage, marketing to find deals. Just got to learn a lot more about scaling a real estate business. And he was probably my first guy that I really saw mentorship from.
Do you think you would be able to experience all those things or grow just as fast if you didn't actually get to walk physically the properties and just read books or listen to podcasts?
No, absolutely not. People try to do it the easy. There's no easy way in real estate investing. The only way to get good at real estate investing is to go and do it. It's not like stocks where the asset is on a computer screen. It's not. Mm-hmm. The asset is a living, breathing, house or apartment complex or structure. Like it has problems. It has people. You've got to go be a part of these things. You've got to go and walk the projects, see how these things are done, and walk with somebody who knows what they're doing. Go and. Like I always tell people, like I walked 1,000 houses before I really started buying a lot. I would buy, I bought maybe 5, but it was houses that were, family deals or, kind of like hey, this is a no-brainer. Before I started really making my own pure decisions on deals, I probably walked 1,000 houses just to learn what I was looking at, to be confident in what I was making a decision on.
So good. So from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, by 24, you became a millionaire?
Yeah, 24.
So 24, was it like Go abundance. Let's go. I'm in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The day I turned a millionaire, I said, yep, absolutely. I'm applying for GoBundance. I
I
did.
love
The
it. I
day,
love
the
it.
day
So
of, I didn't waste any time.
so between getting the eightplex and becoming a millionaire at freaking 24 years old, what happened in those 3 years? Like, was it just more houses, appreciation? Did you also start your other businesses that you're, heavily focused on now?
More properties. That's what it was. An equity millionaire, right? Like equity rich, cash poor. So that's kind of where we were at that time. We had bought after we bought that eightplex, we bought another handful of houses, 5 or 6, and we had really, really good equity in them. So that put me over the $1 million mark. But it was equity rich and cash poor. And at the time, at 24, I thought that was really what was like the goal, right? Was to be a millionaire. But then you become a millionaire and you don't have any cash to keep investing, and you figure out that this little $1 million number actually doesn't mean anything because you can't eat net worth. So that's why we took a really big shift in our investing career last year to say, like, hey, let's cash out all this equity that we have. We're going to use this to grow our active businesses, and we're going to leverage that into things that are actually going to be the long-term growth. But I think a lot of people get hung up on that like millionaire number, that they want to like become a millionaire, but becoming a millionaire doesn't mean anything if you don't have cash coming in every month or a lot of cash in the bank to do deals. Like, it's just a number, you can't eat it.
So let me ask you this, because I totally hear you on this. My journey was corporate sales, high income earner. And then I was able to replace it by getting house hacks, turning them to co-living. I basically had 100K of passive income. I'm like, oh my gosh, $8,000 to $10,000 a month coming in for rental income. I'm financially free now. And that was like my whole goal for like 4 or 5 years, just the number I wanted to hit. And then I hit it. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm going to go travel for a little bit, and then realize I can't scale. I'm 20, 28 at the time. I'm like, all right, there's only so much I can drink on an island before I get bored.
Yep.
So I had to have that mindset shift where I'm like, I thought it was all about just hitting that financial independence number, becoming financially free. But at the end of the day, it's like, we're young, we're ambitious. Our goal in life is not just to lay around. Like, we actually want to strive for bigger goals and scale businesses. That's just innate, especially in my nature and your nature as well. So walk me through that like misconception. And then, do you think passive income is as important as everyone says? What's the main focus now? I know you said active income, cash flow. Are you also looking to generate wealth? Like, kind of, I just want you to kind of, unpack what I just said, because I think it's really important for people once they reach that point in life.
Yeah, I think everybody has to have a number that they're chasing, of course. But I think the idea of passive income, just like you said, it's just kind of like, why? We're in our late 20s, early 30s, even into your 40s. Most of the guys, that I surround myself with are in their late 30s or early 40s, and they're just hitting their stride. Like that's your prime earning years. Why are we looking to go lay on a beach? Like, yeah, I think it's fun to be able to have the flexibility to be able to do that for a period of time. And that's the cool part about being an entrepreneur. But I don't think the goal is to do that for the rest of your life. Um, the passive income number, I think, is something that you shoot for later in your life, in your 50s. And I'm taking steps now to ensure that I get passive income in my 50s. I'm not trying to strive for passive income currently. So I was kind of in the same spot, right? I was 25 at the time, and super cash poor, but super equity rich. And I couldn't do any more deals. And, I got to a point to where, hey, if I have a bunch of deals that aren't working the way that I want them to, I'm in trouble. It's all great as long as the deals are going good. But as soon as the market takes a shift, I'm going to be in a rough spot. So we've just kind of looked at our properties over a 3-year time horizon of saying, okay, which properties have not made money over the past 3 years because of vacancy, repairs, everything off the line items. And sure enough, most of them didn't make money. They might have made a few $1,000 or even up to 10 grand, but like, what's $10,000 over 3 years going to do for me? That's not doing anything. When I have $150,000 of equity tied up in it, it just doesn't make any sense. So I sat back and I said, okay, well, what do the properties that I owned at the time, I didn't even really want to own them later in my life. They were older properties that were built in the 60s or 70s. And, like right now, that's a 50-year-old property. Well, think in 30 years, that's an 80-year-old property that's going to have 80-year-old property problems. So, like, yeah, I might invest in all of these older homes and burn them out, renovate them, and, own them for 30 years and allow that to be able to be a big net worth grow. But at the end of that, I'm going to end up dumping millions of dollars in repairs in these things. it's not going to make any sense, you know? So that's kind of the investing ship that we had was, okay, if we're going to do this, if we want to we don't want to grow our passive income now. I want to grow active income now. That's it. I want to take the active income and grow it into things and invest it into things that are going to provide passive income later. So we took a big world view of, hey, what's probably the most likely thing that's going to provide us really good passive income later with as least headache as possible and as minimal expense as possible. And for us, it was just new construction properties. So we've shifted our entire business model to just making a lot of active income and investing it into new construction properties that, hey, if they break even right now or, make $100 a month, that's fine. We don't need the money. We have active income to cover our lifestyle. We need those properties to make us money 25 years from now. That's the goal.
Yes, I love that. Talk to me about designing your life because you're a traveler, right?
Yeah, we're travelers. Yeah, we travel 4 or 5 times a year, which is not huge, but it's a good bit.
Right. It's not like our friend Brian Lubin, but
no, not like him. Not like him, but it's pretty good.
So how do you intentionally set up your life and design your life so you can be able to do that?
Yeah. First of all, we don't have a large team. I've always felt like a sense of obligation whenever I had other people that were relying on me, whether that be partners, whether that be employees, anybody. I've always felt this sense of obligation that I didn't necessarily want to feel right now. So right now we don't have a team. It's me and my wife. She designs and I do all of the projects, and we have our subcontractors and our crews that we work with, and we work with a lot of the same people. So that is a team per se, but they're not solely reliant on us. So we remain really flexible. In our life right now, we want to be able to just pick up and travel wherever we want to go and not have anything holding us down. So we've set our life to where we don't have anything holding us down. We don't have a big thing that we quit doing was we quit trying to take off bigger bites than we could chew. When we were young and investing, wanted to do everything under the sun, wanted to syndicate, wanted to do large multifamily deals, these big $1 million deals. And what I found out after doing a couple was, okay, they're great, but they do require a lot of work and a lot of time, effort, and energy and a lot of money. So if they work, it's fantastic. But, when things aren't working that great, you have to be really hands-on. And there's just no way around it. So it kind of limits you in a flexibility standpoint. So now we just have enough projects that we know we can handle. We know we can easily get these things done with minimal stress. We live a lifestyle that we like, and we make plenty of money doing it. We traded quantity for quality. It's a really big thing. So we started doing a lot less deals, but the deals that we do, we're really picky on. We made sure that those deals are really going to be home runs.
I love that. Have you dealt with a lot of partnerships, between, private money lender, or how do you usually, get these properties, or has it all been, self financed by you?
So our flips right now, we use hard money for our loans. So all of our loans are hard money loans, and we finance the equity portion of cash out of our own pocket. So try to take on as minimal partners as possible. I know that offends a lot of people because everybody wants to say oh, don't use your own money. But in my opinion, when you don't use your own money, I think you're just taking on a level of risk of having somebody else's money. And when there's money involved with people, everybody knows how it gets. And it's kind of a stress that I don't want to deal with right now. B, I think having your own money in the project puts you emotionally invested into it in a different way. Because it's one thing if I've got, Joe Blow's $70,000 wrapped up in a house where if it doesn't make money, it's okay, I'm protected. He's the one that loses. There's another thing whenever it's your money on the line. You're going to make sure that you execute, So I think it holds you to a level of accountability of execution on your own deals. So for our short-term deals, that's us, and our long-term deals as well. We're the equity financing in it. And maybe that changes later on. I've had a lot of partnerships, and, they're great in a lot of ways, and they're, not great in a lot of ways. Maybe it changes later on where we do take on more partners, but right now we're just bootstrapping as much as we can, and we're doing really quality projects, making sure that the projects we do invest in, we win.
I love that. I want to put you in the shoes of someone that you've never been in the shoes of. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Because you've never really had a corporate job, right?
Right. Never had a corporate job. I sat in a cubicle for nine weeks on an internship, but that doesn't count.
Cody, that doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
So Cody, someone's in a corporate job. They're making, $100K, $150K, and they want to escape that, right? They want to have this life design with travel and freedom, be able to do what they want with who they want. What would you suggest would be the first step? Would you suggest they focus on that passive income through real estate or cash flow? It doesn't have to be passive. Or would you suggest them start a business to have that active income coming on the side? Like, walk me through that process that you would do personally if you were in their shoes.
Personally, if I was in those shoes, if I was a six-figure earner making enough
Mm-hmm.
money to fund a decent lifestyle, right? I would just start saving money. I would try to save up 50 grand, like get 50 to $100,000 in a savings account. Find a number that makes you feel comfortable having in savings, and just quickly as you can save to that number. Whatever cushion is fine. And then on top of that, try to get yourself 50 grand. So if 10,000 bucks is a number you're comfortable with, if you don't have a lot of liabilities and that is good for you, put 10,000 bucks in an account and then get $50,000 over that. It might take you a year and you might have to live really low for a year to do that. But if you want out fast, I think that's the best way to do it. And in the meantime, I would just learn skills of real estate investing. I would learn how to flip houses. I would learn how to find deals. I would learn how to execute construction. I would learn what the numbers look like. I would connect with as many people as possible to tell them what I want to do. So if you want to flip houses, I would go to every real estate meetup. I would talk to every realtor that I could. I would talk to every wholesaler possible and tell them, I want to flip houses, send me your deals. And just run numbers on deals. Even if you can't buy them, run the numbers. Like, get so familiar with how to do it that your chance of failure whenever you do actually take the jump is so small. Like, just reduce your possibility of failure as much as possible for a year. Save up 50K and go flip a house. That's what I would do. I would put your own money on the line and I would go out and try it. Bring on a private money partner, maybe if you have somebody who wants to put up like half of it, but I would put your skin in the game. I would make sure that you're investing some of your money into it. And I would learn how to flip houses, because flipping houses is the only way, at least that I've seen in real estate, that you can generate cash quickly. Now, you can be a deal finder. Yeah, you can be a wholesaler. But in my opinion, there's a lot less flippers than there are wholesalers, because wholesale requires no risk. If you don't sell the property, then you just give it back to the homeowner and it's no harm, no foul. With flipping houses, you actually have some risk. You have money in the deal that can go bad. And I think that because you do have the risk, I think the risk gets rewarded. So I think you do make a little bit more money. And there's going to be a lot of wholesalers out there that are going to negate this, and that's fine. And, they're probably right. I'm probably wrong. But in my experience, flipping has been a lot more lucrative for me, and it generates cash quickly. And if you can learn the business, you can easily replace $100,000 a year job. You can do that with two projects a year. That's crazy. I do a project every 30 days, it's easily done if you just do the right deals and you learn what you're doing. So that's what I would say is try to find a number that you're comfortable with. It's a safety net. Save up $50,000 past that and go flip a house. In the meantime, while you're doing that, learn every single thing that you could about construction, learn everything you could about how to, what a deal looks like, how to source a deal, find the right people to sell the deal, learn about the areas and the neighborhoods that you want to be in. Just reduce your chance of failure as much as possible.
That's amazing. And then as they're flipping these houses, they're getting some now income. How do they then transition from that to being able to, go travel and maybe do it remotely? Is that an option as a flipper? Or
Yeah.
how would you get that lifestyle designed? I actually don't know personally, so I'm asking you, a personal question on this one.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
when I think of a flipper, I think it's someone that has to be there in the weeds. So who do you need in place where you can remotely manage the project and still make the money?
Yeah, it's the systems you put in place. So for our projects, I can do an entire project and show up maybe twice, and it's fine because you have to have the deal finders. At least if you want to find your own deals, you can. That's a whole whole other podcast. But for me, I have enough deal finders where I get deals in my inbox, almost daily. I have the right systems to know, okay, well, to run my comps and to determine the areas. I know what a deal looks like. I have the right calculators to run my numbers. And I know what my number is. And if you will sell me the house, the number, I can buy the project. I have the correct crews to be able to go over there and they expect what I want. They know what I expect. As long as you have the proper design plan in place and you have the proper schedule in place and your contractors can send you videos to verify, well, then you can be pretty much anywhere and do it. With the templates and the processes that we use, our flips are completely designed and planned before day one of the project. So, all of our design boards are sourced. We source all of our products, our material lists, like everything is picked and decided on before we ever step foot in the house and actually, swing a hammer. So that's the thing is it's the planning involved, right? So as long as you have your schedule built out and exactly what you're doing and you're minding that schedule and you're making your contractors send you videos and updates and, you're holding people accountable to actually, you have to pay attention to what's going on with the project, but that doesn't necessarily involve you like walking the project there. Photos and videos today, you don't really have to be anywhere to do anything if you have a phone. So that's kind of what we use. It's like, hey, we have a full schedule built out. We expect what's done, and we ask for specific photos and videos of what we know should be done. Don't send us something general, because you could hide stuff in the general. If we ask for a photo of something specific, send us a photo of something specific and prove that it's done. And move on and follow the design boards, follow the finish schedules that we build out. And as long as that happens, we follow the timelines, and then, house is done, we can list it for sale.
Tips on paying contractors.
We pay contractors after it's done. I've been a contractor before. So, a few years ago, I had about 2 years, we were doing some contracting work, a really good opportunity in the town we were in. And I understand contractors that do want to get paid a little bit up front. However, we order all of our materials ourselves. So a contractor doesn't come out of pocket for any materials, except for like maybe, like true building supplies, which is like, lumber and maybe a little bit of drywall, but like it's little stuff that any competent like business owner should be able to cover. So we're not asking for 20 grand here. It might be like, $1,000, $1,500. So we buy all of our materials up front. So because of that, we are able to negotiate with our people. Hey, we're just going to pay you when the work is done because you're not coming out of pocket anything. You're just showing up and doing work. So tips on paying contractors. If you're going to be a full-time flipper, you have to learn how to order your own materials. You have to learn how to source for your own projects. It's kind of like the value that you build in. And I think if you're sourcing all the materials, then nobody else can negate you on getting paid after the fact. So if you're not sourcing your own materials, give a little bit up front if you really trust the contractor, but just trust but verify. Definitely ask for some references and call around and see if they actually do what they say they're doing. But make sure you get social security numbers as well if you're going to send payments. Just that way you have their social security number, you can put judgments on them. But on top of that, I think if you're a flipper, you're going to be a full-time real estate investor, you have to learn how to source your own stuff, in my opinion. So that kind of, as far as paying contractors goes, just pay when the work is done because I'm providing you all the materials.
Okay, so put a huge bow on this becoming a flipper, and that's your strategy to get out of that $100,000 plus corporate job. So from my understanding, you need deal finder, you need the crew to do the contractors, the designer, which would be ivoryhome.co. That's your company, right?
Yeah, that's us.
And then you need someone to finance the deal, which would be you plus maybe a private money lender. Is that correct?
Private money or hard money.
Or hard money. Any more pieces I'm missing?
No, maybe a realtor to sell the deal. The correct realtor to sell the deal, I would say. So you want to have the deal finder. You want to have the contractors to manage the deal, person who's going to fund the deal, and who's going to sell the deal. And who's going to design the deal. So
right,
kind of
which is designing the deal. What does that entail?
That's part of sourcing all your materials for yourself. So that's part of the team that's going to actually like plan the project and what goes on with it. So that I think, and I learned this from a flipper that had did over 1,000. It was another one of my mentors. She was incredible. She told me that if you walk into a project with no plan, it's going to take triple the amount of time than if you walk into one with a plan. So simple as that. Like you just have to walk in knowing what you're going to do to the house before you start. You can't walk in day one and say, okay, what are we going to do here? That's just a recipe for disaster. You got to have a plan built before day one. You have to have your budget set out. You have to have your materials picked. You got to have the house designed. Yeah, all of that has to be planned beforehand. It takes a little time beforehand, but the amount of time that it saves you during your project is hours and hours and hours.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just got a 10-minute masterclass from Cody on how to get ready for your corporate job. So 5-star review on the podcast, subscribe to Cody. But a couple last fun questions I want to ask before we wrap up. Number one, What do you think is the new 100K? Because I was just infatuated with once I hit 100K, that's life changing, blah, 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 blah. And even for people in corporate, they're like, oh, I got a 6-figure job, but it's not that much anymore, especially depending on where you live. For you, what do you think is that new 100K? And then also, what do you think is that $1 million mark?
I think the new 100K is 300K. I don't think that you're not setting the world on fire with 100K until you hit 300K. It gets a little tough to really live a lifestyle that's extravagant, or nice dinners and things like that. 100K, you're just kind of scraping by. So I think 300K is the new 100K. As far as what's the new $1 million, I'd say probably $3 million. I'd probably just multiply it by 3 again and say that it's really not anything until it gets to $3 million. Just and especially like living in Austin or Scottsdale, like we live in expensive parts of the country, but like if you want to live anywhere cool, it's going to cost you money. So I think for most of the cool places in the country, yeah, you're going to have to multiply that old norm by 3, and that's going to be the new. But I also believe the opportunity to make more money, like there's never been a greater opportunity to make money than there is now.
Book or podcast you would recommend first the person who's just getting started, and then second the person that's looking to take it to the next level and scale?
It's a really good question. Book that's for the first person who's getting started, it would probably be, it's going to be a really basic book, but probably Rich Dad Poor Dad, just because like the principles, right? If it's somebody who's just getting in the world of finance and understanding like how this all works, the principles of Rich Dad Poor Dad are fantastic. So I think that book is great for anybody getting started in like entrepreneurship, financial independence, learning how to actually retire, like anything is just going to, like that book is going to answer a lot of questions for you. As far as a book for somebody who's looking to scale, I think The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel is an incredible book. And reason being is I think it teaches you a lot about the ways that you've been operating. Like, why have you been operating the way you've been operating? So that way you can reel back a lot of those things and say like, okay, well, I only did this because of this. So now you can reel back and say, okay, well, what if I got rid of that back there? How would I look at things differently? You can start to ask yourself those questions. And when you start asking yourself those questions, you really start to learn about the amount of risk you want to take. And you start to learn about just why you think, like why you feel the way you do about taking certain risks or taking on certain projects. And you can start to identify that why. So like if you have an opportunity to do something big and for some reason you're hesitant about it, it's a lot easier to take that step when you can identify the why. Whereas when the why is just completely like foreign to you, like if you're just going to be scared, right? It's just going to be fear, but fear becomes a lot less scary whenever you can identify why you're feeling the fear at all. So for somebody who's looking to like scale a business, who's looking to scale their investment portfolio, scale their real estate, scale anything. Once you've kind of had that base financial knowledge of like, okay, I have the tools for how to do this, but what's going to actually allow me to do it? I think it's a lot more emotional than tactical. So that's my opinion. Probably a different book than you were expecting to hear, but I just think that I think that risk taking is a lot more emotional than tactical. I think most of us, if we've been in the game long enough, we know the tactics on how to do it. We can usually copy and paste the process, or even take the time that it's going to take to refine our processes a little bit. But it's more about like, what are those emotions and feelings that are causing us to really not take that leap?
I'm going to have to get that book. You sold me on it.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting book. Morgan Housel's great. He's got 2 books. I recommend the other one, Same as Ever, as well. They're incredible books. Very good conceptual books. Another great business book. I got to give a third one here. Is The Road Less Stupid. That book is incredible.
I've heard of that one either.
It's by Keith Cunningham. Incredible, incredible book. He was a real estate investor who had, I forget what the number was, but I want to say 150 million, 200 million under management and lost it all. And he's built back an extremely successful business now, much more successful than his last business ever was. And if you want to talk about some real business gems, that book has incredible, incredible information. And it's for a book that you can be in any type of business. And it's also a book that you don't have to read in order. So you can just open it up to a random chapter and read every chapter as a lesson. Incredible, incredible book.
Well, you made up for the first one, the rich dad, poor dad, the easy answer.
It's so basic. It's so basic. It's so hard to answer that question too, because I was in that stage 10 years ago. It's so hard to remember what were the things that, the books that might have changed my life back then, but I can definitely
But
remember the ones that are changing my life now.
I agree. Rich Dad Poor Dad got me into it as well. Like got me into stocks
Yep.
that I then spent all this money I made in stocks and invested into real estate. So it's
Yep.
still the gateway drug into
It is.
entrepreneurship.
It is. It's a really easy answer, but it serves a very integral purpose in almost every entrepreneur's life. But I think that if you're an entrepreneur who's looking to like scale, I would definitely recommend The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel and The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. I think both of those books are they're just incredible. They should get more recognition than they get, for sure.
Last two questions. Number one, Growth House, our community is very much a go-giver community. We want people to reach out to you, but no one's going to reach out and say, hey, can I pick your brain? If they do, Cody, give me their Instagram or however they reached out to you, and I'm going to talk to them. So our community is a go-giver community, right? So we want to provide value to our guests because you spent your time when you could be working right now to provide value to us. And from me and the rest of the community, like we really appreciate that. So with that being said, what are you looking for right now? Resources, connections, anything in general besides, going and following your story and your journey? How can we provide value to you when we reach out?
Um, the main thing that we're looking for right now is we're growing our Instagram. So that's going to be a weird thing, but me and my wife have this, big goal of growing our Instagram to something spectacular. And we have our design page right now. It's at ivoryhome.co on Instagram. You can visit our website, but we're wanting to grow our Instagram. So if you want to do anything, just share our content, get us out there. We're like a modern day Chip and Joanna gang, flipping and designing houses. But we've done it, our entire marriage, and it's a lot of fun doing together. But we just started on this content journey. So if you want to do anything, just share our content with somebody. If you guys like flipping houses, if you like real estate investing, if you like interior design, if you like, how to get really nice stuff at better deals for your houses, this is definitely the page you need to follow. So just share our social media.
And then one more time, what's the social media channels that people should reach out to you on?
On Instagram, it's at ivoryhome.co, ivoryhome.co.
And then your personal one?
It's Cody Caswell with an underscore. So just Cody Caswell with an underscore.
I love it. So this is the last question. This is a bonus one. We can cross this one out if you don't want to talk about it. But I think it's such an interesting conversation to have is when someone's an entrepreneur and they have this, big goal and ambition, we leave a lot of things to the wayside, right? We just focus one track minded on finances in our business. And for me, I definitely just put relationships to the side. You have, incredible person next to you. I want to hear this quickly. How'd you guys get connected? And then do you think it was harder as an entrepreneur to find that right person for you?
Originally, whenever we got together, we weren't on the same like entrepreneurial journey. So she went to school for early childhood education, but I also, she kind of knew at the back of her head that it wasn't her passion, and I just encouraged her to follow her dreams more than anything. And she found her dream in interior design. Put in her 30,000 hours to get amazing at it, and she's incredible at it. And we just sounded like naturally formed the team that we have. How do I think that got formed? We met in high school, so it's not like we met on this entrepreneurial journey either. We met in high school, but we didn't get together until college. And I think that for us to we're kind of growing up and learning together about how to navigate being entrepreneurs together, because as you or any other entrepreneur struggles with, work is crazy. And A, we love what we do, but B, it also, as a young entrepreneur, it takes up so much of your time just trying to grow this life. It's hard, So I think we're navigating a lot of that for sure together. We're trying to learn exactly how to do that. But the main thing is to just I think it's a life hack to find somebody who supports you and no matter what, to find somebody who doesn't doubt you. And whenever you're sure about something, they are willing to be there right by your side and support you along the way and give it hell with you. I think that's the most important part. When you have that, it's like a superpower. So it's it's 1 + 1 = 3. So that's my thing is find somebody who is willing to stand beside your crazy ideas and give it hell. And if it doesn't work, willing to let you do it again, do something else again, because like the path has been proven. That's what I try to, remind myself of and tell other people too. Like the path of entrepreneurship has been proven. Look at America. America is it's a country full of entrepreneurs. You can make money in anything. So like if you failed, 100 times, you might make it on 101. I think that's what it's all about is like, keep trying, have somebody who's willing to keep trying with you, and somebody who's like willing to dream big. I think a lot of people, especially today, when we're caught up in social media, looking at everybody else's life and why their life is better than ours, people forget to dream big. Like, dude, the world is out there for the taking. We have never had a better opportunity to make money. We've never had a better opportunity to grow these big, crazy lives that we want to live. And I think that, like, get out there and dream, because like the world really is at our fingertips for everybody. Everybody's got incredible opportunity to just make, life whatever they want it to be.
Cody Caswell, ladies and gentlemen. That's a mic drop. We're ending it right there. Jesse Ray, Growth House Podcast. I appreciate you, man. I'm excited to stay in touch and come out to Austin because all my friends are out there. So I'm going to see you soon.
Yeah, man. I would love to. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Anytime I can add value to you guys, let me know. I'm here as a resource.
Appreciate you, man.